Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. One of the most popular syndicated series in television history was a simple show called Highway Patrol. It was an action crime drama that ran from 1955 to 1959. It stars Broderick Crawford as Dan Matthews, the very gruff and dedicated head of the police force in an unidentified western state. He had no particular title, he was just known as the boss. The series was based on authentic stories from the files of Highway Patrol headquarters throughout the country. Episodes dealt with pursuing and arresting criminals such as smugglers, hijackers, and robbers. They used two technical advisors, one that was a patrolman on active service and one that was retired. These two read the scripts before the scenes were shot and were present the day of filming, just to make sure that everything was up to snuff and was the way it really was in real life. One of the signature shots of the series is the fedora-wearing Matthews barking rapid-fire dialogue into a radio microphone as he leans against the door of his black and white patrol car. Ziv television programs produced the show, and they immediately signed Crawford as the lead actor in April of 1955. His acting style was pretty gruff and bordered on rudeness. The show premiered on October 3rd, 1955, with an episode called Prison Break. The initial ratings were real strong for the series, running an unbelievable second to I Love Lucy. The production had 156 episodes over the 4-season run, and it would feature many actors who would later become successful stars in their own right. Among them was Stuart Whitman, Clint Eastwood, Robert Conrad, Larry Hagman, Leonard Nimoy, and Ruta Lee. It's famous for its location shooting around the San Fernando Valley and the Simi Valley in California, in mostly rural settings at that time. Other notable places around LA that they shot included Griffith Park as well as Bronson Canyon, just above Hollywood. The officers' uniforms that are worn in the show were the same style that the California Highway Patrol wore during that age. In seasons 1 to 3, the shoulder patch is essentially the CHP patch with California and Eureka state motto removed. The California Bear and other state seal elements are retained. In season 4, they changed it up somewhat and adopted a patch that matches its patrol car emblem. Narration for the show is done by Art Gilmore, and it gives it a truly documentary feel. While everything is described as a state police agency, that actual state is never really identified. It's said to be a western state which borders New Mexico. The key elements in the show are the two-way radio communication among the patrol cars and headquarters, with a very heavy use of police codes like the term 10-4. The California Highway Patrol strongly supported the show in its first 2 seasons, and the production company was able to rent actual CHP squad cars for use in the show. Generic Highway Patrol logos were placed over the real CHP emblems, and studio license plates were taped over the exempt plates. The 1955 Buick Century 2-door sedans that were seen were built especially for the CHP, and they were never offered for sale to the public. These 2-door sedans were adequate for the job because the real CHP rarely arrested anyone at the time, being involved in more accident investigations, enforcement, and auto thefts. The show's uniforms were copies of the khakis worn by the real CHP too. Authenticity was a major goal and was paramount to the show. Dan Matthews' call sign of 2150 was the actual unit number of then CHP Commissioner Bernard Caldwell. In mid-1956, the CHP dropped its support of the show over differences that they ran across in the storylines and the presentation of those storylines. And they refused at that point to supply any more squad cars to the production. The producers quickly acquired incorrect Buick Super 4-door hardtop to complete that season. Accurate squad replicas were ordered for the 1957 season. It's kind of interesting that the star of this show, Broderick Crawford, played himself in the TV show Chips in a season 1 episode called Hustle. He was pulled over for running a stop sign, and he explained to Officer John Baker, played by Larry Wilcox, "You know, I was making those highway patrol shows long before you were born." Baker responded to him with, "Yeah, they don't make television programs like that anymore." At the end of each show's episode, Crawford would make a safety announcement. One of his famous ones was "Leave your blood at the Red Cross, not on the highway." And he always ended up by saying, "This is Broderick Crawford saying, see you next week." The production company made a determined effort to avoid any perception that children or minors were being exploited in the show. The official writer's guide for the series specifically stated that depictions of juvenile delinquents was forbidden, and that it had to be obvious that any delinquent was an adult. When the star of the show was asked why this popular show ended, Crawford said, "We basically ran out of crimes." But the truth was that Crawford really had had his fill of the hectic TV schedule, which caused him to drink more heavily than ever. Now, Broderick Crawford had some dealings with a young dancer that caused him some real headaches. This dancer was named Virginia Wrangle, but she danced professionally in the strip clubs by the name of Linda Dahl. The police arrested her for being so infatuated with the show's star that she ordered a moving company to pull up to his house in Bel Air while the actor was gone and remove $25,000 worth of his furniture and personal belongings. Crawford was in London at the time, and he knew nothing about it and didn't know the girl at all. This red-headed dancer was thrown into the slammer, and they were able to recover all of the items that had been moved and stolen. Miss Wrangle pled not guilty to the charge, but there's no information on how it was actually handled and whether or not she actually did jail time for this act. Find an episode of this great show from the late 50s. It's a good one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.